Hi, I'm James, and today we're looking at this, Traveller's Tales Volume 1. And this is written by a friend of mine, Neil Grant, who provided the material free of charge for me to review, but with no expectation of any sort of comments and no sort of chance to edit it or anything before it goes out. Now, Traveller is a great game. I played a lot of it in the late 1980s before going to university, and I was really lucky to play a game last week with Tom Moat. In between, I really haven't played it, but I have kept up a bit on the background with it. I've sort of kept a particular eye on GURPS Traveller. I thought that had some very nicely done background, and the problem with Traveller for some people is it's the sheer depth, if I'm honest. Now, Neil's written a 5-page guide to talk through what the Traveller universe is like. There's an initial section talking about the fact there's no faster than light communication. Everything is being done through jump travel, and you're now down to couriers, and each jump takes a week. And that makes a massive impact on the setting. If you think of it very much as from a naval commander's perspective, you're very much in the position of this is the situation when you're sent out. If you have a query and you need to find out what to do, we'll assume you're fairly local and you can get a courier back in one jump. It's a week to get the information to them and a week for it to come back. So you have at least 2 weeks without any support. Let's add to that, what if it's multiple jumps? Very quickly, communication becomes an issue, and you're almost in the situation of a naval captain in the 18th century, or early 19th century, sent off with orders, but you don't know if anything's changed. I like that in the background. The bulk of it, however, is taken up by the different races, and the different races are not people in furry suits. It's how they think, and amusingly, I think possibly the most alien of all the races is the Zodani, who are actually human, but they're the most alien in outlook. Very nicely done, and it gets the point across as to the fact that it's an alien setting. Now, what you then have is 300 little vignettes. They were originally done as writing exercises, and they are seeds that could be developed or background that help you establish the Traveller universe. And Neil has gone into this in depth. He's tried very hard to try and make it alien and fantastic. So there are 300 vignettes, some of which are not massively useful in a campaign, but some of the others really are. I'll give you an example. Vignette 20. I learned all manner of things in the diplomatic service, including that human-style dinner parties and banquets really don't work well with the Aslan being one of the alien creatures. Their predatory heritage nags subconsciously that others at the same table will try and steal your kill and make social eating tense except with their own children. They do have a tradition of big group feasts, but the symbolism of these draws heavily on kill division after group hunting, and is so bound up with overtones of dominant and subservient status that they really aren't appropriate if you want to deal with them as equals. And the author's note for that: this is extra background for dealing with Aslan to remind players they aren't humans in fursuits. Later vignettes develop the theme of Aslan food customs, amongst other things. It's a nice little drop-in. It would make a nice... It doesn't say anything there about how to use it in the game. I would suggest that would slot in nicely. The players are perhaps dealing with somebody who invites them along to whatever meal they're having, and it's very different from what they expect. All of a sudden players are going, ooh, alien. And straight away we've got that. And I'll read the next one as well. Vignette 21. Mrs. Wagner, the deputy handed her a snub-nosed revolver. It was heavier than she'd expected. There are 3 bullets in it, and the law says you need to fire all 3. He was trying for a reassuring tone, but she wanted to vomit. The prisoner knelt on the ground beside her, his hands behind the stake that held him upright. She approved of the rule that a jury passing a death sentence had to carry it out themselves, in theory. If you weren't sure enough to pull the trigger yourself, you weren't sure enough to ask the faceless state to do it for you. Theory didn't help much right now, however. She raised a gun to the prisoner's temple. He was gagged, but his eyes were hopeless and terrified. She was as sure of his guilt as she was of her own birthday. He'd killed those 3 kids. The jury had been unanimous, and it had just been her bad luck to draw the 1 black marble from the cup. She'd sucked in a deep breath and pulled the trigger. It took more force than she expected. 2 more quick shots. She handed the pistol to the deputy and threw up everything she'd eaten that day next to the man she'd just executed. She stumbled away past the open grave. The other jurors were still digging. Yeah, definitely different. And the author's notes, as noted previously, justice systems are a good way to give a world character. I envisioned this as a frontier world, but there's no reason it has to be. Involving the jury in actually delivering the sentence might lead to a lower use of the death penalty. Few cases will be as clear as the one here, with more chance of a compromise sentence such as exile or imprisonment, even when the strict penalty would be death. Yeah, that's a nice little one. That could even be, what's the word I want, borrowed for a fantasy setting. That might work nicely there. So you have 300 of these little vignettes. They really set the background for Traveller. If you're new to Traveller, and I know when I didn't really grasp the game itself. I think this would give you, as a referee creating your scenarios, just drop in and go, oh, I like that. That's useful. There are recurring characters. There's an Imperial agent who keeps cropping up and various other things. Some of them are very much, this is an adventure seed, and Neil's actually written some where the intention is, this is how you start your campaign, this is how you start the adventure. They do work nicely. But really, for me, it's background. And for, let's be honest, for the price that it's being charged for it, and I will put a link in the description, it's a fantastic little resource. Not directly to be able to pick up and run scenarios from, but to set your campaign in, to get that feeling that you are in a different setting. It's not like a lot of science fiction, 20th century Earth, but with lasers. This is actually making it different, and that's a really good thing.